Hello everyone, Kier here, and welcome to the InfiNOT podcast. I'm focused on the casual nature of the game, and each week I discuss the new patch, the new card, and my feelings on the game. Let's hop into it. So, if you noticed already, my voice is a little rough, but I am feeling much better. I got over a throat sickness. It was strep. If you ever dealt with that before, it is a pain. But I made it through. I'm feeling better, so I do apologize if you hear some snifflies and other things like that. On to the news, though. We do have 2 new cards that came out, and you should be hearing this on Monday, so I do have some relevant information about Victoria Hand. Let's first discuss Iron Patriot, who is the Season Pass card for this season. Iron Patriot is a 2/3 that says, on reveal, add a random 4, 5, or 6 cost card to your hand. If you're winning here after next turn, give it -4 cost. So this is a card that rewards you for having priority in a number of ways. Firstly, having a card that incentivizes the early game again is really cool. For a long time, the game leaned towards these end-of-game effects with cards like Eliath, Gilgamesh, Hitmonkey, to name a few cards. But, all of those have the same thing in common, which is that at the end of the game, they have a really big effect that helps you win. I suppose you could say the same thing about a number of other cards, like, Dr. Doom or Spectrum, or you get the point, right? These big 5 and 6 cost cards, Ajax as a 5 cost card, you get the picture, right? So having a card that matters so much in the early game is actually really cool. It makes cards like Quicksilver and the Guardians look pretty appealing as a combo piece with this card. Another cool thing to keep in mind is, it's giving you a random 4, 5, or 6 cost, and it's giving it -4 cost. So you might get something like a 2 -1 Gore, which is insane. Or you could get a 0-10 Crossbones, for example. The effects will, vary widely. I mean, you could get something like a 0-4 Khazar, and you might not have much use for that. But even still, a 0-4 is really good. And that's why this card in particular, I think, is really good. Although, I don't know if it has, like, a permanent home outside of, like, Devil Dino decks. In particular, I think as a general good card, it definitely works. You can throw this into a deck with a bunch of other good stuff, but again, you also need those tools to help you get priority early, so you're not just throwing, like, regular old, good cards. You're not throwing, like, Shadow King into a deck like this, most likely. What you're probably doing is you're hoping to put something like Negasonic, or Groot, or RG, Rocket and Groot. One of those cards that will help you secure that lane. But overall, I'd say this is a really cool Season Pass card. I've gotten the card, and it's fun, man. I really enjoy it. I actually paired it with the next card, Victoria Hand, in the same deck, and I've been having a lot of fun. It's just great. Honestly, I'm just glad I get to play my Sentinels again, because the, hand buff archetype doesn't really affect Sentinels in the same way that Victoria does, right? After you use the first Sentinel, when it returns to your hand, it's great. And again, I'll explain more when we get there, but just to round out my thoughts, Iron Patriot is really cool. I think it helps the Dino archetype, it adds a card to your hand, but if you want the upside of that card, you can choose to fight for that lane, and that leads to a lot of interesting gameplay in the beginning. Really fun flavor. I enjoy this card a lot. So for me, it's like a 10 out of 10 release. In terms of power, I'm not sure exactly where it's going to land. Again, the randomness can be an upside or downside, so I think it's going to land right where it needs to as a Season Pass card, which is like around that 53% win rate, if I had to guess, which for a card game is outstanding, but for a Season Pass card is right where I think it needs to be. Okay, so next up is Victoria Hand, and this is really the card that I'm excited about. I couldn't help myself by talking about it. But before I tell you what she does, I just want to let you know This was posted by Griffin, who is the community manager for Marvel Snap in the Discord. They say there will be a small window on the Tuesday of the patch update where after you download the new patch, you could spend spotlight keys and earn the increased duplicate rate of 2,000 tokens before the weekly reset. We'll leave it up to players to make the call on if they want to wait for that chance or not. So basically, your game is going to, update and get ready for the next patch. And there's going to be a small amount of time where before the spotlights change over and after you've gotten that update, you'll be able to use the Band-Aid fix that they were talking about previously and use it with Victoria in the event that you get duplicates when you're trying to roll for her. Just as a heads up, I feel like that's relevant to note. If you want this card, you don't have to risk it right now. You could get double the tokens from the duplicate than you are getting right now. With that out of the way, I've been very rambly today. Thanks for staying with me. Victoria Hand is a 2/3 that says, ongoing, your cards that were created in your hand have +2 power. And this is why I was saying I was playing it with Iron Patriot, because she also buffs that card. I mean, this is just an amazing little card. It reminds me of what we have now with Cerebro, right? Cerebro is moved down to a 2/0 that gives +2 to your highest power cards. This one isn't as restrictive as Cerebro in terms of deck building, but it still requires you to put in some work, right? But her power output could be insane. I mean, if you put down 3 Sentinels, Victoria is already a 2/9, and she's spreading that power across the board. So it's really cool. I really enjoy it. And again, Sentinel is just my favorite. I've always had an affinity for that card. I wish I could use it in more decks. I think it's really flavorful, it's really cool, and I have a great variant for it. But there are cards that you don't need to go all in for. For example, if you have Kate Bishop in your deck, you might as well throw Victoria Hand in there, and she's going to effectively be a 2/7, which is huge, right? And just by throwing Kate Bishop in your deck, you're unlocking that. So imagine, you throw other cards in there like Penny Parker or Snowguard or any of those cards. You can also, this is really cool, since she works with Moon Girl, I threw her into that big ladies deck that has, She-Hulk and Mockingbird and a bunch of like little cards like Titania and Hydra Bob and that, and she feels good there too, especially because you have the original card and then you have the copy, and you can choose where you want that power to go. Really, really, really cool. I'm having a lot of fun with this card. I'm throwing it into a lot of decks. I would recommend getting this card. I don't often recommend cards because I feel like a lot of these have to do with personal archetypes and things, but like this card is going to have so much value in the upcoming, months ahead. Her applicability is just always going to be high because of the cards that exist in the game. Even for stuff like Swarm and a discard deck, like you put down 2 Swarms and again, she's a 2/7. Like the numbers are just really, really high. It's really good. So for me, this is like an 11 out of 10. I absolutely love this card. I think the effect is pretty unique, and it's giving me the chance to play some cards that I don't usually get to play all that often. So yeah, really, really awesome. I'm really happy with this card release, and I hope you're having fun too this week. Again, things are a bit slower. I think they're finally starting to get out of the groove of the holidays, which is good news. And looking at the schedule, it looks like 14th, we're going to get the patch, so that's going to be Tuesday. You'll have the OTA on the 16th, and then we're going to get another OTA on the 30th. So there's going to be a little more activity this month. February 13th is the big patch, where they're probably going to add character mastery, which is really, really exciting. I cannot wait. I've been like working my tail off trying to get more credits so I can split more of my favorite cards, and I can't wait to see what else happens with this game. I think, assuming that they, land what they promised, this should be a really good first quarter for the game. We have to hope that they land it. So thank you for listening. If you don't know, I post in all sorts of places like Blue Sky and Threads, so you can follow me there. And a quick shout out to the InfiNOT Guild. That's IFN for the tag. A week or two ago, we got an insane amount of points from our members in the guild. Like, I'm talking a couple of people close to or over 10,000 points, which is insane. I try to get my 1,500 in, so I just have to shout them out. They're doing an amazing job in there. And if there's one thing you can remember, it's that I'm InfiNOT. Thank you for listening.